Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and welcome to this week's episode of Dear Nero, the weekly Q&A series here on my channel where subscribers send in questions, and I answer them. It's a pretty simple concept. This week's episode will probably be a little bit shorter than normal, as I would like to begin work on a full-on, year review of Black Ops Cold War, because Call of Duty Vanguard technically comes out tomorrow night. I mean, it's technically going to be at midnight on the 5th, but that's tomorrow night for me. I'm going to be staying up. My sleep schedule's already pretty bad. I'm going to be making it a lot worse by trying to stay up and be able to play and record and stream and stuff like that. So it should be a good time. But I'm hoping to get that Black Ops Cold War, year review out tomorrow. So that's going to cause this video to be a little bit shorter than normal. But we do have a number of great questions I'm going to be going over here today. So hopefully you guys will sit back, relax, and enjoy. Typically, we start these episodes off with a bit of a health update, a bit of a personal update. And just like last week, there really isn't a whole lot to discuss, I suppose. It was a pretty good week, all things considered. Anxiety was pretty low throughout the entire week. Continuing on doing everything. In fact, I have this app on my phone. I think it's called Day Count or something, that basically you put in dates and you put in times and it'll keep track of everything for you. And here is, 43 days sober, 37 straight days. Well, technically that's not exactly accurate. Today is day 37. I'm still yet to do my steps for today, but after I'm done with all my steps for today, this will be day 37 of 10,000 steps every single day in a row. And then, of course, 19 days straight on Prozac as well, which once you get to that point, I guess that's when Prozac and stuff like that starts to kick in a little bit more. And I'm definitely noticing it, both good and bad. I'm noticing with the Prozac that my moods are a bit more even, which is nice. I'm noticing that anxiety is lower in general, which is also very nice. So I'm also noticing I'm one of apparently Google says 7% of people this can happen to, but apparently I'm one of those people where my stomach messes up a little bit. So what happens is, to my understanding, based on the thing I read on Google, which you should, Googling this kind of stuff is both good and bad, I suppose. But it turns out that when you get on an SSRI like Prozac, when your brain starts to release serotonin, it can also release serotonin in the GI tract at the same time while your body's getting used to the medication. And so people that watch my streams randomly, I stream late anyway, people that watch my streams, they'll be 2 o'clock in the morning, my stomach's messing up, I gotta be right back. And it's not that I feel sick or anything like that, it just, I don't feel bad, it's just hey, you gotta go to the bathroom, you gotta go now. That kind of thing here. Apparently we're getting real personal here on Dear Nero these days. But other than that, yeah, things have been going pretty well, all things considered, and I'm excited for the future. I will say that one thing about when you're drinking super heavily, and you're drinking heavily for a long time, is that you stop dreaming. And there's some sleep expert that was on Joe Rogan, and I heard this a while ago, and so I'm going to butcher it as I try to repeat it, but it was something to the effect of when you're drinking super heavily, you don't reach that point of deep sleep where you're able to dream nearly as well, and as a result, you just don't dream nearly as much when you're drinking heavily. And in fact, if people do that for so long, if you're a heavy drinker and you're a heavy drinker for a very long time, which I wasn't, I guess, that long, but if you're a drinker for a super long time, it'll get to the point where you start having hallucinations because your brain will force you to dream even when you're awake because it can't dream while it's asleep, if that makes sense. That's if I recall correctly, that's what he said. It was something to that effect, which is kind of crazy if you really think about it. But in general, I'd say everything so far has actually been going pretty well. My dreams are back. I'm having lots of dreams, and usually they're very vivid. And what's kind of neat too is in my dreams I start drinking again and I start smoking again. But in my dreams, even in my dreams, in my subconscious state, I'm still realizing I start freaking out. Oh no. Why did I do this? Why did I do this? This is a horrible idea. In my dreams where I start smoking, I immediately think, oh no, Courtney's going to be pissed. And in my dreams where I start drinking, I think to myself, oh no, I broke my streak. I'm going to feel terrible. What are the people on YouTube going to think? How I was doing so good. Why am I doing this? And even having that realization in my subconscious brain, I think that's a good thing for me, I suppose. Because it's not only do I, not want to in my conscious life, even my subconscious is no, you don't want to start. You don't want to go back to where you were. You don't want to be like that again. And yeah, so in general, everything has been going really well. And I want to thank you guys so much for all the continued support. I know there's lots of people that put in the comments that they love these Dear Neros just for the weekly updates. And thank you guys so much. I get so much encouraging stuff here in the comments of my YouTube videos and on Twitter and even on my Twitch streams. Thank you guys all so much from the bottom of my heart. I've gotten way too many second chances in life, and I promise I do not want to mess this up. And so I'm just continuing on trying to be the best me I can possibly be. And honestly, it feels really good being back on YouTube and being consistent consistent with uploads, and Vanguard is right around the corner. Literally, it's tomorrow night, and like, I'm excited, man. I'm excited for the future. I'm excited for how far I've gone, and I'm excited for where I'm going to be going. But with that out of the way, guys, we have a number of great questions here today. Like I said, it might actually be, well, actually, I guess they didn't say this, but this might be a little bit of a shorter episode than normal, because I'm going to try and do this year-end review of Black Ops Cold War, and I'm going to get that up tomorrow before Vanguard comes out. So as a result, this video might be a little bit shorter than normal, because I'm going to be trying to get that video out as well. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it with the first question that's going to be coming in from Bad Omen, great name, who writes, Dear Nero, why did you choose the name Nero? Was it an old game or a nickname? So this is something that longtime fans of my channel already know, but, not everyone always knows these kind of things. These are like answers to questions I've given years and years and years ago. Maybe newer subscribers don't know this kind of thing. So how did I get to name Nero? So growing up, I was really into wrestling. Not so much anymore. Like, I couldn't even name half the stars that are still in wrestling these days, whether it's WWE or even AEW. But back in the day, back in the Attitude Era of Raw, and going with WCW and the Monday Night Wars, I was really into wrestling. And my favorite wrestler at the time was Jeff Hardy. And Jeff Hardy just wrestles by his real name, and his full name is Jeffrey Nero Hardy. His middle name is Nero. And when I found that out at the age of 13, 14, whatever it was, I'm like, that is a really cool middle name. Like, my middle name is not nearly that cool. And so when it came time to, when I finally got Xbox Live and everything in 2007, when I got my first Xbox and Call of Duty 4 and Xbox Live, I had to come up with a name, right? And I thought Nero was such a cool name because it was unique, it was interesting, it was a reference to my favorite wrestler. I just thought it was a perfect name, and then I've gone with that ever since. So yeah, that's how I got the name Nero. It was actually from Jeff Hardy. The next question is going to be coming in from Hera, who writes, Dear Nero, what are your PC specs at the moment? So I bought a pre-built PC many, many moons ago. I have not upgraded it, except for this past year, going into Cold War. I upgraded and got a 3070. I had to overpay for that 3070, which I'm pretty sure it's still ridiculously hard to get the new graphics cards. But yeah, I got a 3070, which is not even a great card of the new ones anyway. But I need an upgrade, because prior to that, I just had a regular 1080, and I needed something. But yeah, my specs are on your screen right now. The next question is going to be coming in from Rocky, who writes, Dear Nero, will Activision need to bleed Treyarch for zombies every year to satisfy the status quo? I feel they are already over encumbered with work on titles that are not their own game. Any thoughts would be appreciated. So Rocky, I don't think they're going to continue to bleed Treyarch completely dry for zombies. Right now, the leaks and rumors are suggesting that there is going to be a Spec Ops, kind of a survival kind of. Basically, leaks are saying that's not going to be zombies for the next COD title after Vanguard. The next COD title right now is rumored to be Modern Warfare Roman numeral 2. It's going to be a sequel to Modern Warfare 2019. And the rumors are not saying zombies at all. There's no mention of zombies whatsoever so far, which would be good. I mean, it would be nice for Treyarch's team to just focus on Treyarch games. But then again, honestly, if they were to make a whole separate team, have there be Treyarch and then have there be Treyarch Zombies, have a whole separate zombies team that just works on zombie stuff every single year and continues the story, that would be kind of interesting, because I think Treyarch Zombies is the pinnacle of zombies, and if every single game were to build upon the previous game, that would be nice. But as we all know, when it comes to releasing annual titles over and over and over, not only is there franchise fatigue, but there's burnout within the development studio, and then the games are going to get worse and worse. And so yeah, I definitely don't want Treyarch to be making zombies every single year, but I am interested to see how things are going to play out with Vanguard Zombies, with Treyarch, basically having the reins for that this year. It's going to be apparently very similar to Cold War Zombies, but different. I'm interested to see how that's going to play out, but not having a round-based map at launch is definitely cause for concern. The next question is going to be coming in from Dave, who writes, Dear Nero, have you played Final Fantasy XIV, and if so, what do you think of it? I played for a little bit. My brother, back during when everyone was leaving World of Warcraft, everyone's hyping up Final Fantasy XIV. My brother got into the game. He really enjoyed it. I started playing the game as well. You'll have to help me out here when it comes to the names, but I was playing the class that's basically a paladin, because whenever I play WoW and stuff like that, I tend to always lean towards the paladin class. I thought the game was fine. I'm not really into the Japanese culture. I don't know anything about the story or anything about the Final Fantasy universe or anything. I just played for a while. I got to level 20 or so, and then eventually I'm just this game just isn't sucking me in. And I guess it's mostly because I'm just not into that culture. I'm not into the story. I know nothing about it. I feel like I'm jumping in way too late, whereas a game like World of Warcraft, I've been playing for ever, and as a result, I know the story. I know the characters. I have nostalgia nostalgia built already into the game. I've invested so much time. It's a bit of a sunk cost fallacy, honestly. But a game like World of Warcraft, I just prefer. And we did get pretty into New World there for a while. I think I'm like level 48 or something like that in New World, but I've slowed down significantly, and all my friends appear to have slowed down significantly as well. Because it just the combat in New World I don't think is good. I think of the big MMOs, whether you're talking about like Final Fantasy, WoW, or ESO or whatever, I think not Final Fantasy, I'm sorry. I think New World has by far the worst combat, even though it's the newest. I think it has the worst combat of like all the big MMO games right now. I do like the skilling. It's kind of like old school RuneScape in a sense. I like the skilling in New World, but apparently there's not really a whole lot to do at endgame, and the combat is not interesting. I find myself when I sign in, my favorite thing to do in New World is literally just to go mining or cut down trees while playing Hearthstone on my second monitor. And I think that really speaks to how much I'm actually enjoying the game, because if I'd rather just go cut down trees and level up things and build furniture for my house as compared to, actually go play the game, continue the story, and level up, then I think that kind of is indicative of the overall quality of the New World product, I suppose. But World of Warcraft is still my favorite MMO. Final Fantasy 14, while good, is just not for me. The next question is going to be coming in from Juno, who writes, Dear Nero, what has been the most disappointing game release? So this is going to be a bit of a left field one for you guys. I'm sure you guys are expecting me to say Call of Duty, like Modern Warfare 2019. That is definitely a big one for me personally. But I'd say if we're going outside the Call of Duty space, Fallout 76 for me was pretty disappointing. And apparently it's a lot better now, and I would like to go back to it at some point. But when that game first came out, it was so sad how not fun it was. As someone who loves the Fallout universe and the Fallout franchise, I literally listen to like oldies, like Fallout-esque music every day on my phone. Like that's the only playlist I play, is a playlist of like Fallout music and Fallout adjacent music, essentially. I love the Fallout universe. I know so much about the lore. I love the games. And when Fallout 76 came out, again, it's probably better now, but when it first came out, the story was so bland. This is not a spoiler, by the way. You start the game off, you leave the vault, and you're like, okay, we're going to go hunt down the Overseer. You need to catch up with the Overseer, right? And then you just go town to town, finding out that there's nothing in the world. Because the whole point of the game when it first came out was like, everyone's dead, essentially, and that everyone, like... the only like living things you see in the world are either monsters or other players, and you can like choose to kill the other players or whatever. It's supposed to be like this big, like, I don't know, that Fallout Online, essentially. And when the game first came out, that story was just so lame. It's like, oh, here's some audio recordings of things that used to happen here, but there's nothing actually here. But the next town, the next place, guaranteed there's people there. And you go there, and there's no one there. The next town, you go there, and there's no one there. There's never anyone anywhere. And it's like, you just feel like you're in this empty, sad world. Whereas you're used to games like Fallout 4 and New Vegas and Fallout 3 that are full of such interesting characters and NPCs and stuff. And I know they updated the game so there are NPCs now, and so as a result, I think I'm going to like the game a lot more. I just haven't gone back and played it in a long time. But at launch, Fallout 76 was definitely a huge disappointment. The next question is going to be coming in from Calvin, who writes, Dear Nero, been a fan since Call of Duty Ghosts. Recently, listening to you talk about your journey on becoming sober and staying fit has been inspirational. How do you keep maintaining that motivation to keep on hitting those 10,000 steps a day / staying healthy? Cheers from Australia. So Calvin, thank you very much, man. The Call of Duty Ghosts, it didn't seem like it was that long ago, but 7 years, that's kind of a while. Almost 8 years even. But how do I stay motivated? I lived that really horrible, unhealthy life for so long that I remember very vividly what it felt like. I remember the hangover of the last day I drank. I thought I was going to have a seizure. I was so dizzy and I couldn't see and my eyes couldn't focus. And I was just walking in my backyard and I randomly fell over just vomiting. Like violently vomiting, and it was so scary. I thought I was actually I was freaking out. I was afraid to not have my phone in my hand because I needed to call 911. I was so freaked out. I don't want to go back to that. I never want to go back to that, and it was horrible. And how I stay motivated is remembering all the times that I felt like that. And all the stupid decisions even during the quote unquote fun part of alcoholism, which is when you're drunk, I would just make horrible decisions. I would just, do things that would potentially ruin my YouTube career or things that would ruin my relationship with people that I care about and stuff. And I don't want any of that. I would just I would get drunk and just start saying stupid shit, and then saying stupid shit like that would just make people lose respect for me. And I don't want to be that person. I don't want to, disappoint the people that I care about. And I don't want to disappoint the people that follow me on YouTube and Twitch and whatever, because, you know, obviously I like what I do here. I think I do a lot of good things for the community. I think I do a lot of good things for Call of Duty in general. And I think the fact that, like, I watch so many creators out there, you know, and I get, like, genuinely excited when, like, certain people are live streaming or when a video pops up from different creators. And then knowing that I can provide that for other people, that same feeling, is something I don't take very lightly. So that's how I stay motivated. It's just I remember what I was like when I was drinking all the time and just how everything was horrible. And I know how good things are now. I mean, every now and then I have a bad day, you know, obviously we all do. But I still stay sober. I still do my steps and we get through it, right? And that's how it goes. And the 10,000 steps thing, it can be, at first it's going to be hard. My feet are all messed up, man. I mean, they are all messed up. I need to get better shoes or something. But at first it can be difficult. But then after a while, it just becomes about the motivation to actually do it. Because for me, it takes about an hour to an hour and a half to, like, go and walk those 10,000 steps. But what's helped me is I'll typically just walk around a park or something like that now, and I'll play, like, Hearthstone Battlegrounds on my phone. And before I know it, those 10,000 steps are just, like, done, because I'm just sitting there focusing on the fact I'm playing a game as compared to just walking and just staring at trees, you know, which can be fun depending on the day. But, you know, play some music, have some headphones in, play a game, do whatever. You can do your 10,000 steps. And other than that, just staying sober and, like, trying to pick some somewhat healthier choices when it comes to eating and stuff, staying hydrated, drinking your water and stuff. I mean, it's not that hard. Simple. There's an old quote, I suppose, from a song from Drive-By Truckers. It says, "Simple life ain't all that hard," and it just isn't. So there you go, guys. Kirby as the next question here, who writes, "Dear Nero, just curious, why is your name in COD Pat Swayze?" So this sounds a little bit toxic, but when my name is NerosCinema, I get recognized more often than when my name is Pat Swayze. And when people notice me as NerosCinema in-game, it's not like, "Oh, cool, Nero's on the other team." It's, "Oh, I have to be as toxic as possible because Nero's on the other team." You know, they're like, "Oh, well, how often am I going to be in a lobby with Nero?" You know, and I get it. Again, I get this sounds conceited, but this is what happens. They get into a lobby with me. They either try trash talking in-game or not, but they typically pull out, like, the AK-74U or the Krieg or whatever. Basically, they go ultra try-hard because they think that it's going to impress me or something like that, when in reality, we live in a world with skill-based matchmaking. And so I'm used to seeing that every single game, essentially. But, yeah, when people see, like, NerosCinema in the lobby, they're like, "Oh, time to pull out the AK-74U and just sweat my ass off because maybe it'll impress Nero. If I have a higher score than Nero, then somehow my life is going to, like, be better." I don't know why people do it, but they do. And but when I play as Pat Swayze, you know, people don't recognize me nearly as much, and as a result, I get to, like, actually just chill out and play COD without people constantly trying to be as sweaty as humanly possible, I suppose. But I've had the name Pat Swayze for so long that perhaps people are going to start recognizing that, so I might change it from Pat Swayze to something else. I guess we'll have to wait and see. But, yeah, that's pretty much it. And most YouTubers will say the same thing. That's why people change their names quite a bit. That's why a lot of YouTubers have, like, the name, like, I, and stuff like that, you know, just a bunch of random numbers and letters and stuff, or random I's. It's because, you know, getting recognized, while at first it's kind of neat, after a while, it's like, dude, it's awesome that you watch videos. It's awesome that you watch a stream. You don't have to pull out literally the best gun in the game because you're in our lobby. I mean, look at me, man. I'm shooting thumpers in the air trying to, you know, do launcher challenges, and you're jump shotting me with 74Us when I'm not looking at you. Like, chill out. The next question is going to be coming in from Rabbit, who writes, "Dear Nero, if the World at War maps that we're getting were not coming to Vanguard, what other World at War maps would you like to see them add to the game?" So, Rabbit, I would say one of the most underrated maps from World at War would be Upheaval. I think that Upheaval is, like, super underrated and super good. Somebody mentioned this in my chat the other night, but I can almost bet the Asylum is going to be a DLC map in Vanguard. It just makes so much sense. If they're, like, open to the idea of bringing back World at War maps, then World at War maps by default were kind of, like, large, like they kind of want for the Modern Warfare 2019/Vanguard style system. Yeah, I could definitely see Asylum coming as a DLC map. And you guys know me. My favorite map of all time will always be CeeLo, so I'd love to see that return as well. Or even maybe Outskirts, because Outskirts, while it was reimagined in Black Ops 3, I feel as though, like, the original, like, OG look of Outskirts with the church tower and everything is almost iconic. I think it's really interesting, so it'd be awesome to see that map return as well. The next question is going to be coming in from Ed Lopez, who writes, "Dear Nero, a personal question. Do you have a girlfriend? What are your thoughts on marriage, and do you plan on having kids?" Yeah, I mean, we're getting personal on Dear Nero. Might as well. Yeah, I do have a girlfriend. Her name's Courtney. We've been dating for over a year now. Maybe call it maybe a year and a half. My thoughts on marriage are we do plan to get married someday. And do I plan on having kids? She already has a daughter. But right now it's kind of like the idea of like, right now I want kids. I think if it happens, it happens. I think is kind of the approach. But right now, I don't feel as though I'm in a place financially to have a kid. And I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, well, you're never ready for a kid. If you always wait till you're ready, you'll never have kids. And while I think, there is some truth to that, I think when I'm in a position like I am right now, where I'm like just literally completely trying to rebuild my life, both physically and mentally and even financially and stuff, like just trying to rebuild everything because I ruined myself for so many years. Adding a kid to that could be very difficult, obviously. And so I would much rather wait until I am more financially secure. But then again, you don't want to wait too long. So it's like right now we're kind of just playing it by ear, I suppose. I think we both like the idea of another kid, but we're kind of just waiting to see how things are going to play out and trying to like rebuild a little bit before we jump into that. But yeah, thank you for the question, Ed. The next question is going to be coming in from Victor, who writes, Dear Nero, for 1 year, what food would you eat? You can drink wherever you want, but you can only have one food. I'm going to cheat on this. At first, I was thinking pizza, right? Because if you go eat one food for an entire year, there's lots of different kinds of pizza, lots of different ways to have pizza. But I'm going to cheat and say burrito. Because think about this, man. Like, when it comes to burritos, there are so many different kinds of burritos and so many different kinds of ways to make a burrito. And therefore, while yes, you will eventually get tired of it, there are so many different ways to make a burrito, from like veggie options to chicken to beef to steak to all sorts of stuff like that. Adding in different kinds of rice, different kinds of beans, different kinds of veggies, different kinds of everything. There's so many different ways to make a burrito. So I feel like if you had to pick one food to eat for an entire year, a burrito would be the choice, because ultimately you can just do whatever you want, wrap it in a tortilla shell, and call it a burrito. The next question is coming in from Matt, who writes, Dear Nero, have you ever tried G Fuel? If so, how'd you feel about it? I felt as though it was awful and that people should only drink Glitch Energy, which is made by my buddy Wildcat. Seriously though, I do like Glitch from Wildcat. He's a friend of mine, so full disclosure there, but he has his own kind of energy formula, and it's good. I definitely like it, so definitely check out Glitch. I'll put a link to it down there in the description. The next question is coming in from Be More Awesome, who writes, Dear Nero, do you believe the pro perks should come back to the Call of Duty franchise? Yes, 100% they should. I mean, I'm not going to go into full detail about like, hey, they should add this perk in the Vanguard. This will be the regular version. This will be the pro version. This is what the challenge should be. I'm not going to go that far. Just in general, I'm going to say yes, they should bring back pro perks, because it was a very interesting form of progression that I feel as though made every single prestige more interesting. Or if they don't want to do it on a prestige basis, they can make it so it takes longer to unlock, but once you get the pro version of a perk, you just have it forever. There's a lot they could do with that. It would just be an extra layer of progression to the game that would be fun. Like, I remember back in Modern Warfare 2, I enjoyed rocking Marathon and Lightweight, and then on games where maybe the other team was camping a bunch, or we were already winning by a bunch and they didn't really need me to help win, I would literally just run laps around the map and felt good about doing it, because I knew I was running my miles towards unlocking Marathon Pro and Lightweight Pro. Like, having that extra sense of progression is a great thing in video games, and as a result, yeah, I feel as though they should bring back pro perks. The next question is coming in from Z Destroyer, who writes, Dear Nero, not a gaming question, but what do you think the Browns should do with OBJ? Dude seems washed, and I have no clue why you guys didn't trade him prior to the deadline yesterday being before this video goes up. So yeah, they did not trade OBJ. The news came out today that they excused him from practice, and right now it sounds like he is just straight up out. He's going to be gone from the team, and they're discussing how to handle that, which is weird because the trade deadline already happened. They could have traded him and got some value, but now it's talking like they may just straight up be releasing him and getting no value for him whatsoever, except for the money that they were paying him. It's like, it's just a shitty situation all around. I don't think that necessarily he is washed. I don't think that he is a good fit for the team. I don't think he's as good as he used to be, based on what I've seen. I mean, I could be wrong here. It could just be he's not working in this offense whatsoever. But I have a feeling, because of the injuries and stuff like that, him getting older, he just isn't the same OBJ that he was with the Giants. But, if he doesn't work for our team, he doesn't work for our team. I mean, the guy's had under 30 receiving yards in like 5 of the past 7 games or something like that. I have him on my fantasy team. He's been sitting on my bench the entire year. He doesn't work. Whether he doesn't have, whether he just can't work with Baker Mayfield, or they don't have that chemistry, I don't know. I don't know why this has happened. But you take one of the best receivers in football, you put him on the Browns, and now suddenly he's a complete afterthought. And so, yeah, I mean, it sucks that they didn't trade him, because if they're getting rid of him, then I wish we would have got some value for trading him, because I do think that there is some value to be had there. Apparently, the Saints had interest in him. But now that we can't trade him, I mean, just releasing him seems silly. I mean, at this point, talk it out, work on whatever locker room issues are going on, and play out the season, because right now the Browns are like 4-4 and we're at the bottom of our division. So something needs to happen here, and if it's getting rid of OBJ, then so be it. But I think he can be an asset to the team. I think everything needs to stop. I mean, if he stops being like a locker room distraction, if there stops being like this kind of like beef between him and our quarterback, then sure, it'd be wonderful if they could just work together and somehow push to make it into the playoffs, because that's the big thing for us right now. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it's going to play out, because this all basically just happened today. And the next and final question for this week's episode of Dear Nero is going to be coming in from Adam, who writes, what do you think is the best Borderlands DLC of all time? My vote is the second game's Assault on Dragon Keep. So Borderlands 2 Assault on Dragon Keep. Yeah, I was looking through, just to like quickly refresh my memory on this, I want to say the Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon Keep as well as my favorite DLC. But when I went through and looked at all the DLCs for all 3 games, or I guess 4 if you count the pre-sequel, and I'm like, yeah, I think that's still my favorite. The Krieg DLC in Borderlands 3 was really good, because Krieg is my favorite character in the franchise. General Knox DLC back in Borderlands 1 was good. I like the Campaign of Carnage in Borderlands 2 as well for some reason. I think it's because it just made it so getting the Unkempt Herald was a lot easier, and I like Mr. Torque in general. But yeah, I definitely agree. Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon Keep was pretty awesome, and the fact that this coming March we're getting basically an entire game that's like that is going to be pretty awesome with Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. But ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys all enjoyed this week's episode of Dear Nero. If you did, consider leaving a like. Thank you guys all so much for listening. I'm going to begin work on that Black Ops Cold War review. Hopefully I can get that out before Vanguard. And again, Vanguard tomorrow, twitch.tv/NerosCinema. Be sure to go over there and follow and stuff, because we're going to be streaming. I mean, obviously, if I'm going to be playing the game a bunch and recording the game a bunch, I might as well be streaming it a bunch as well. So I'm going to be streaming a bunch of Vanguard over on my Twitch channel. Tonight, I don't know what we're going to be playing, but tomorrow night, obviously, Vanguard is going to be out. So the idea is to play a bunch of multiplayer and enjoy that. And then maybe towards the end of the night, like super late, maybe we'll check out Zombies once we're a bit more brain dead and tired and stuff. So it should be a good time. So be sure to go ahead and check that out. Thank you guys all so much for tuning into this week's episode of Dear Nero. And I hope you guys all have a wonderful day.